Welcome to Taiwan Talks. I'm Betty Chen. Tensions are rising on the Korean Peninsula, with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un formally defining their relationship with South Korea as hostile and belligerent. In response, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol has criticized North Korea for being the only nation to formalize a nuclear strike policy, calling the regime irrational. What are the anticipated next steps for the two Koreas? Joining us today are Liou To-hai, National Chengchi University College of International Affairs Adjunct Professor of Diplomacy, and Yuan I, National Chengchi University Institute of International Relations Adjunct Research Fellow. A warm welcome to both of you on the show. With North Korea intensifying its missile tests, including 4 cruise missile launches and a medium-range missile with a hypersonic warhead, what do these actions mean, and how do they impact the regional stability? We start with Professor Liu.
Yes. Number one is about military tension and arms race. Number two, on the Korean Peninsula. Mm-hmm. The most important thing we need to know is the Northeast Asia is full of crisis. In addition to inter-Korea crisis, cross-strait crisis, Sino-Japanese territorial over Diaoyu or Senkaku Island, and then plus the Russo-Japanese territorial dispute over the 4 islands. Mm-hmm. So that is why anything happened on the Korean Peninsula that could bring about, ripple effect.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, there are so many crises that may be happening. Hopefully not. But what's your assessment about the regional situation?
The first and foremost, we have to ask: is it Kim Jong-un a rational man, or he's not? All right. I think that matters most. Other than that, I think the entire region is facing a compound complex crisis, one after the other. The political crisis, the arms race crisis, the arms control crisis, and security crisis. All in all, I think at this moment, I think the world witness a moment that might the crisis might trigger even wider, conflict.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, today we'll talk more about these respective crises. So following North Korea's aggressive missile tests, the U.S., Japan, and South Korea have condemned the actions, which defies the UN Security Council, with North Korea asserting these tests as the right to self-defense. So what is the real behavior, or what's the real intention of North Korea's actions? Is it just a show of military strength, or actually do they really have other broader strategic objectives? Professor Yuan.
If one would follow the logic that Kim Jong-un is indeed a rational man, then what has been witnessed so far are the very calculated controlled escalation, aiming toward the political goal that he wishes to achieve. So this provide with the background information for all of us to taking into account. That is what constitutes his political objective at this moment.
Mm-hmm. What's your assessment, Professor Liu?
I believe very simple. North Korea wants to change the status quo. From North Korean perspective, the balance of power on the Korean Peninsula is in favor of South Korea. Mm-hmm. South Korea has the diplomatic relations with 4 big powers, not North Korea. Mm-hmm. So that is why North Korea is very eager to get attentions from the big powers, force them to take actions to come to the negotiation table. Eventually, North Korea can become what's so-called normal state. Mm-hmm. That means North Korea enjoy the diplomatic relations with 4 major powers, and the most, of course, the United States, because the U.S. is the most powerful country in the world. Mm-hmm. If Kim Jong-un is able to establish formal diplomatic relations with the United States, that means Kim Jong-un did something, his grandfather couldn't do. So this is very important. So that's his final goal, mm-hmm. to become a normal state.
Talking about changing the status quo of the Korean Peninsula, and also Professor Yuan talked about like Kim Jong-un not being the most rational leader, as we can see. So Kim Jong-un has labeled the reconciliation policy with South Korea a mistake, and he also disbanded the Agency for Unification and seeks to label South Korea as a primary enemy. So Professor Liu, given your expertise in North Korea, what motivates Kim's growing hostility? And are there any other like aggressive military strategies behind all these actions?
Of course, Kim Jong-un, as I said, is very eager to change the status quo, and now he already realized that it's almost no hope to get any help from South Korea. Last time the liberal president Moon Jae-in actually helped him to have the summit with Donald Trump, 2018. So that's very important. But now, of course, Yoon Seo-yeol is a big enemy. So that also we need to know. In the past, North Korea always emphasized the primary enemy is United States. But now, change to South Korea. So again, that actually has just prove what I just mentioned about his number one goal is the United States. Now he wants to have a chance to have a summit with the next U.S. president. Now it's very likely Donald Trump will become the U.S. president again. So that is why he bet this is a good chance.
What's your view on this, Professor Yuan?
There has been a discernible pattern of, cyclical crisis in the past, from early stage onwards. So we are already get used to this on and off pattern of stability and instability. I think that we are entering into a new phase of instability, which will trigger the following, stabilizing factor. So what is awaiting is to see how long this crisis or this instability period will last. As being already correct, point by Professor Liu that Kim Jong-un might be waiting for the outcome of the next president of the United States to be negotiated.
So both professors have mentioned the importance of the U.S. presidential election because it seems that it's going to be a rematch between President Biden and former President Donald Trump. How do you think that the U.S. presidential election will impact the situation of the Korean Peninsula?
Probably, purely speculative. That in the past, however, the world recognized Donald Trump strike a deal, but only on the very superficial phase. I think that the deal never materialized. Well, only for an empty promise that the North Korea not engage in more, nuclear underground, device, test. I think that record has been already, broken. So very likely, all right, purely speculative at this moment that he wishes to meet again with his friend, right? But I do have a reservation about that.
So what about you, Professor Liu? Let's say if Donald Trump is really elected, what's going to happen?
So everybody said Donald Trump is unpredictable. And one thing we have to keep that in mind, Donald Trump is not conventional U.S. politicians. So that is why when he look at the international relations, primarily from what he can gain most, not necessarily ideology, not necessarily strategic goals. All right? So in that case, we don't know. Already, some South Korean news mentioned about there is a possibility Donald Trump will recognize North Korea as a nuclear power in exchange for arms control. All right. So if that is true, that's going to have a big change. Also, we also need to know Donald Trump in his presidential campaign already mentioned about or boast his special relationship with Kim Jong-un. That's something Biden and the previous leaders could not do it. So who knows? he might decide to establish formal diplomatic relations with North Korea. So in that case, he can tell the world or Americans, see, I can make a big breakthrough in terms of the Indo-Pacific strategy, because U.S. move forward to the North Korea close to the China's border.
Right.
What even worse, he could not form allies with the Putin against China. So in terms of anti-China new formation, that could happen. Of course, this is too much imagination.
Do you agree, Professor Yuan?
Well, we'll see. Wait and see.
Yeah, of course.
Let's say, going back to the how U.S. presidential election might impact regional situation. Let's say if Biden is re-elected, we don't know about the possibility, but if he gets re-elected, do you think that he has the ability to stabilize the situation in the Korean Peninsula?
I think one has also to readdress the existing multi-layers of the security architect, including bilateral level, trilateral level, and multilateral level. I think one has also recognized that the reality has changed from the previous structure, meaning that the rise of China and also under the ongoing war, the new factor has already instilled in this very complex situation. But according to the statement made by various capital, that they are aiming for a new level of architecture design to safeguard mostly about from furthering damage the existing stability. So the nuclear issue hasn't been solved. We need to be readdressed again, time and again. So history is very repetitive when it comes to Korean Peninsula, and also we're subject to the domestic election of the power change of the South Korea. I think that will add another certain element for more complicated calculation for the North.
Definitely. So in response to North Korea's provocations, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol has issued a strong retort. Let's take a look.
북한 당국은 남북 관계를 동족 관계가 아닌 적대적 두 국가 관계로 규정했습니다. 이는 북한 정권 스스로가 반민족적이고 반역사적 집단이라는 사실을 자인한 것입니다.
President Yoon Suk-yeol warns that South Korea may scrap the September 19th Pyongyang Declaration and the Pyongyang Joint Declaration of September 2018 if North Korea violates its sovereignty. So how vital are these accords on the peace for the Korean Peninsula? What if they are just canceled? What's going to happen? Professor Yuan?
Well, in rhetoric, this is a typical North Korea rhetoric. But in essence, if one would take a look about the content of the so-called Pyongyang Declaration, I think that most of the content has been already compromised. So it is very much nuclear. The goal for denuclearization of Korea Peninsula hasn't reached, and in accordance to the United Nations principle, has been observed that the bilateral cooperative mechanism has been, one-sided disbanded, and also negotiation are going nowhere. So it looks very pessimistic when it comes to the very content. I think it might provide a new chapter for next round of negotiation. I highly suspect that would be exactly the goal that Kim Jong-un wishes to achieve for the next round of negotiation. He simply, discarded what has been already agreed upon.
So Professor Yuan seems a bit pessimistic about any other new agreement. What about you, Professor Liu? Do you foresee any new rounds of negotiations taking place between the two Koreas?
No, I don't think so. Because last time the previous government under Moon Jae-in is a kind of the liberal government. That means that they would like to have maintain a positive relationship with North Korea. On the other hand, the current Yoon Suk-yeol government is a very conservative government. So in that case, Yoon Suk-yeol, depicted North Korea as a very, provocative state, as he just mentioned about. It's for his domestic purposes, because now his government is a kind of a minority government in the Korea's parliamentary politics. So that is why he wants to attract more votes in the forthcoming April election. So they always emphasize North Korean threats in order to get more votes. Right. So, but don't forget, under the Moon Jae-in government, inter-Korea had a positive relationship. At least North Korea did not test its missiles for almost 5 years.
But now things seems to have changed dramatically, right?
So that is why North Korea is targeting the United States.
Yes. So Professor Liu just talked about a domestic election that's going to happen in South Korea in April. So ahead of South Korea's April parliamentary elections, President Yoon has cautioned that North Korea could engage in disruptive provocations, from broader skirmishes to cyber attacks. So what would be the evidence to support Yoon's allegation, and what might North Korea gain from such kind of election interference? Professor Yuan.
Well, in theory, there is a gray zone area. On the one hand, to the full scale of war, on the one hand, and to the other extreme for something that is mutually acceptable condition. I think there is a gray area in between. Each side, especially for the South Korea and the United States, will have to be very cautious about their rhetorics, and also everything so far. The Pyongyang proclaimed actually are conditional. They are offering conditions to be which to be negotiated. So everything, I think, all their rhetorics are conditional. So this transcends very clear message, political message, to the outside audience. That is something doesn't have to be happen. Although, despite the rhetoric they are making, but you have to be mindful, especially South Korea. I think they are very seasoned politicians. They are aware of such a subtle message being transcended at this moment. Still, I think there room for maneuver on very minute detail escalation. Might be, not necessarily provoked by the South, will be considered by the North as a provocation. For instance, the forthcoming the West Coast reopening of fishing season, and also probably a balloon campaign from the South side will trigger something that the North will respond very heavily.
Mm-hmm. What's your take on this, Professor Liu? Do you think that the election interference will be a big issue?
From North Korean perspective, that's not its primary goal. It's kind of a peripheral goal. All right. North Korea is targeting the United States. So North Korea deliberately showed its chance to make a tense situation on a Korean Peninsula, so that the Biden administration will be under tremendous pressure, because already Biden administration is tied up with the two wars, right. Ukraine-Russia war, and the other one, the Middle East Red Sea crisis. Okay, so of course Biden does not want to have another one. The thing is, if Biden cannot fix the crisis here, in that case, that will help Donald Trump to get elected. So that is why North Korea, I think, Kim Jong-un, in his mind, Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. He would like to see his friend to become president again.
Yeah, sure.
So, talking about the United States and also the important role of the U.S. on the Korean Peninsula. So, South Korea and the U.S. have strengthened the security pact to deter North Korea's nuclear and missile programs. And now the U.S. aircraft carrier is positioned near the first island chain. So, do you think that this is a kind of effective deterrence for the North?
Not necessarily. Of course, it has that function, of course. But the thing is, we need to focus on Kim Jong-un's response. Then Kim Jong-un went to Moscow to get support from Putin. Okay? Then North Korea was able to launch its spy missile satellites successfully. All right? So that is why we talk about this arms race. Action, reaction, action, reaction. So I think the situation has become even worse.
What's your view on this, Professor?
When it comes to the U.S. deterrence strategy, which consists of the conventional as well nuclear ones, I think the strategy in the past administration of the United States simply failed to prevent North Korea from developing its nuclear. It has been already become a de facto nuclear power, and yet what you have mentioned is about on the conventional side of deterrence. I think the United States engaged fiercely on its preparation for should anything happens. I think to that extent, the conventional deterrent will continue to foster even more very thick wall, prevent something from happening. And this has been a common practice so far. I think nothing happened so far demonstrated it is working.
So talking about forging alliances in the region, so now we see that, as mentioned by both professors, Kim Jong-un is trying to build closer ties with Russia. And just not what happened not far too long ago. Russia's deputy foreign minister has just paid a visit to the south, and both sides had heated discussions over North Korea's nuclear ambitions. What's the significance of such kind of visit that is between Russia and also with South Korea? Do you think that it can bring any benefit to peace, or it actually worsens the situation?
Actually, not easy, but because South Korea has already provided weapons to Ukraine through the United States, so that's something Russia does not happy to see what happened. On the other hand, Russia, as I just mentioned about now, greatly increased strategic collaboration with North Korea. So in that case, that means Russia and North Korea, both sides have been able to increase their strategic advantages as well as bargaining power. That is why, South Korea and Russian diplomats met in Seoul. But I don't think that's going to make a big change, because now this kind of a new formation of alliances are emerging.
Right. Professor Yuan, what's your assessment?
I think the outbreak of Ukraine, Russia will provide a very, very important element, opportunity for DPRK to exploit. Nobody anticipated. I think to our dismay, I think the DPRK has demonstrated they are able and willing to exploit this opportunity by fostering even a deeper collaboration, providing Russia with the conventional arms, and also in return to get more advanced technology from Russia. With the Russians' assistance, DPRK is making huge progress when it comes to its advanced missiles and also a launch device. So that would be a very, very detrimental to the international non-proliferation regime. I think this has been a totally failure for the West dominant regime to regulate the transfer of arms. However, the closer working relation between Moscow and Pyongyang only suggests that the world will face a tough time to meet That's the reality. So what is needed is how policymaker should handle such a dire situation in such a fragmenting world at this moment.
So my final question, how should Taiwan position ourselves in the face of such rising tensions in the Korean Peninsula? They're just so close to us, right? What should we do?
We don't know who's going to be the next U.S. president. This is I would say this is a key factor.
Right.
If Donald Trump, in that case, it's going to be very precarious for Taiwan because, you know, Donald Trump started to play Taiwan card against China last time. So we don't know what kind of card he's going to play. This time could be North Korean card and the Russian card. But anyway, that's something we also need to pay attention to this changing reality, and we also need to improve relations with China, no matter we like Chinese or not. But the reality is we have already seen Sino-U.S. condominium. You know, the Yuan I met Jack Sullivan in Bangkok. Immediately, China already reported it is already deployed the YJ-62 anti-ship missiles. So that means that those missiles can cover the Yellow Sea and Korean Peninsula coastal areas. So that means there is some kind of China-U.S. collaboration going on there. So we have to be careful.
Right. What's your assessment?
I think Taiwan should, recognize that there is an interact relation between Korea Peninsula and Taiwan Strait. That we will not be, isolated should something happen over there. So we'll be very, very cautious about the chain reactions.
Right.
So be on alert and cautious.
Thank you very much for your insights, and that's all the time we have for today. Thank you very much. If you like our show, please search for us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, and hit subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching our show today. Stay safe and see you next time.